Thank you so much, Kara, and thank you so much, Mundao, for having me. And I've been just listening, Frank and Pablo, and I was like, it's amazing how the ecosystem is growing. And I've been following Mundao for a couple of years now, and I think this is very unique, very exclusive, I would say, kind of very prestigious DAO. And I think I'm a big fan of DAO as a ecosystem foundation as well. So it's cool. Thanks for inviting me here today. So what Pablo mentioned is that there is a multiple ways how we can and should fund space, right? And clearly there is a big overview vision which Frank related to. So I want to talk about investment and VC and why today space is not just emerging trend, but it's like one of the best asset classes in my view, and why deep tech IRR is actually twice bigger than traditional IRR today. So I have slides I'm just going to show. So I'm just going to show a couple of slides from my main presentation, which I normally talk about my fund, but a little bit about us. So we are Deep Tech VC. We are based in the US, and we call it Beyond Earth Ventures. And the idea that we invest in any technology which can help us to build economy beyond Earth. So here we talk about Moon, Mars, orbit, and so on. But in the same time, this is not a philanthropy. We are here to make money. We are here to build businesses, right? So our team won Mars Colony Prize in 2019, which is like, a big competition in the US organized by Mars Society. So basically, the result of this competition was a very long list of technologies which we need to develop to build Mars colony. And that's what was inspiration for us to actually start this fund. Funny enough that you can imagine that these technologies is not just rocket and satellites. And a lot of people ask me like, oh, you do space tech investments, you most likely do rocket and satellites. Actually, that's not. There's so many technologies we need to invest and build to actually build a colony or economy outside of Earth, including energy, including robotics, including compute, and so on. So that's exactly the thesis of our fund. And think about the next kind of sector of where we're going today. We're going to the orbit, right? So orbit is fully commercial. If you think about it, NASA almost doesn't have any budget for orbit because they think they've done most of the stuff already. So R&D is purely Moon and Mars. So that means like as of today, many advances happened, including SpaceX and launch cadence and launch cost. So changed unit economics of many different business models and so on. So what we normally say is that AI is killing some industries and AI is accelerating some industries. So deep tech industries such as energy, space tech, robotics, and compute is actually something which has been accelerated by advances in AI. And think about that, right? So AI can wipe code a website or an app like in 1 hour, but AI cannot go and build a nuclear reactor or a rocket, at least not yet. But this is something which we still think this is the place for us to invest. Let's just go one by one, right? Energy. Imagine we need to build data centers in space. Imagine we need to build moon base. Imagine we need to start mining helium-3 on the moon, or just power many satellites or anything. We need energy, right? Energy can be anything, can be solar. For solar, we need to think about efficiency, right? So silicon is already approaching theoretical maximum of efficiency. So new materials come in, such as perovskite, for example, which is actually one of our investments. And this is great to see that innovation happening, not just in the way how we produce energy, but also in material science. Big thing happening probably in the next decade is fusion. So fusion energy Think about how are we going to build energy on Mars, right? The solar is not that strong there. So it has to be nuclear, it has to be hydrogen, it has to be fusion, right? So all of these energy sectors are innovating, and we see a lot of startups, we see a lot of innovation projects coming up, a lot of new patents and IP. And the good thing about that is like energy also needed for AI. So it's kind of double boost for us that, yes, that's another industry is driving this change as well. SpaceX is, of course, everyone on this call probably heard many things since you are here, right? But it's driving a lot as well. Especially, you probably know that SpaceX is doing IPO this year, and we expect a lot of things happened after that. So last year we had 3 IPOs of space companies, and this year I think we're expecting 5 to 6, and SpaceX being one of the major one. The reason why we like SpaceX IPO is because what we've heard, that half of the SpaceX will leave and do their own startups, because they're all waiting for liquidity, they're all waiting for IPO, and that they already have ideas on how they're going to build the ecosystem around rockets and around that. I hope it will happen. Also, a lot of people who made a lot of money, a lot of early investors of SpaceX, who made 100, 500,000x, they all potentially would like to see, okay, this is the industry which made us rich, we would like to reinvest back. And I will look as well to look at the kind of, the whole ecosystem of new startups as well. Robotics, the space cannot happen without robotics, right? Think about Mars, think about Moon, think about everything which is happening now. The very basic robots plus all the way up to humanoids, right? So we have to support this ecosystem, we have to invest. And it's also, now it's a bit of hype. We'll see probably a couple of waves of what's happening in that area, but then of course the space and robots is interlinked, right? So compute and communications. You probably heard everyone talks about data centers in space. Elon Musk wants to build there, and then you have Eric Schmidt, who just got bought Relativity. Frank mentioned about Sam Altman talking to Stoke, right? So basically, you kind of see emerging architecture, like empires of AI plus space. You have XAI, SpaceX, Starlink. You have DeepMind, TPU, Relativity, and then you have OpenAI, Stoke, and maybe something else, right? We don't know what's happening in Meta. We don't know what, of course, Jeff Bezos, right? Forgot to mention. So all of these things happening, and it might probably will take several trials for us to understand what exactly would be the engineering architecture. We still don't know the problem with heat. We still don't know what will work, what not. Radiation is a big problem. We'll see probably kind of several different attempts, several different engineering solutions for that. But regardless of that, we need bigger compute. We need better communications. As of today, satellites generating so much data in space, they cannot really send everything down to the ground station, right? So that means we need to do edge computing in space. We need to improve communications. We should consider laser. We should do all the different wavelengths. So basically, idea here is that, we talked about space is growing. I just wanted to mention that it's not just growing in space. There's also ecosystem of different startups which enabling each other. So these technologies enabling space, but also space enabling these technologies back, right? So it's two-way. And we also like this dual use startups. I say, so we have several revenue streams. For example, energy, you might have nuclear energy, say. One of our investments is Power. So we have a huge market on Earth, but also kind of small but growing market in space. And it's exactly what we want to see. So resilience of business model, 2 or 3 revenue streams, and hopefully 1 market is unicorn, 2 markets decacorn. That's exactly what we want to see. And I think today, actually the topic of my presentation was the end of moonshots, and I think this is exactly what's happening. So because we don't want to, people stop saying moonshots when we talk about deep tech, and you can see that a lot of major players and strategic players started investing in space. This is kind of early stages, but it's happening. And a lot of them talk to people like me who are experts who've been investing in space and have expertise. So, and the reason why it is happening, I think there's a couple of major macro economic and civilization shifts happening today, which making deep tech is such an attractive asset, right? So first of all is the geopolitical situation today. So we have China and US both competing to be back to the moon. Everyone wants to have best AI, best robots, best energy, right? Independent supply chain for critical minerals. This is all require technology. This is all require innovation. And you can't survive if you don't have good tech and good innovation. So that means that a lot of government funding is flowing into these sectors. For example, in the US, most of the companies which we're investing is VC investing $1 and government gives $3, right? That's not like 1-to-3 matching, but that's what we try to see in a financial model of a good founder who try to pull some non-dilutive funding from DOE, NASA, StratFi contracts, and so on, right? So that's the unique moment in our history. It's not happening anywhere else. This is the only asset class where you can see that. And it's not going to be forever. So this is just the government giving a boost to this type of technologies. So where else you can go invest $1 and get $4, right? And that's basically why people are looking at that, why people think about, okay, this is capital intensive, this is long, this is patient capital, but because you have this leverage, right? That makes very unique. Energy demand is growing as we mentioned, right? So AI, at some point we will be kind of reaching the limit of what planet can support with growing data centers. It doesn't matter what will happen with AI, who will be in DeepMind, OpenAI, or DeepSeek, whatever. So we know that this trend will be developing. We know that new models will improve. We will have more and more models, have more efficient, probably at some point we will reach AGI. That basically means the only thing, we need better compute, we need better energy, right? We need more efficient grid, better storage, and a lot of potential options for baseline, right? So, and this is a whole area which is developing a lot of innovation, again, a lot of capital, but also this is something which we will have to have, and we will take advantage when we hopefully be landing on the moon in the Mars. So you probably all heard about the program Artemis, which we mentioned today, I think several times, right? This is like 97 billion program. So this is like the unique of our age, and I think it's amazing that we have it. This is a collaboration of countries. Of course, we also have program in China, which is also competing. But one of our investment thesis is to invest in companies which have contracts with program Artemis, because the contracts can be a couple of billion or close to $1 billion, right? So if the companies can somehow secure and show that they have high quality of technology and show that this is something which, they can work with, then for us it's a very good sign. It means this is a kind of proven technology which will be basically fundamental and foundational for the moon economy at some point. And then I think we kind of also want to mention that robotics, some of the things which we weren't able to do before in orbit, let's say program a lab to produce semiconductors in space, or program something to produce fiber in space, or program some of our investments, for example, is like a medical lab to produce cancer treatments in space. Something which was not possible a couple of years ago because we didn't have such advancements in robots and AI. Today it is possible, right? Today you can do it, program a box filled with liquid, send it to orbit, fly it for a couple of weeks, bring it back, generate some kind of compound crystals there, or I don't know, antibody molecules, whatever, and then you bring it back. And so think about the unit economics here as well. So if the cost per kilo now is around $2,000 per kilo, and then if the, let's say, a super valuable material cost 100K, then you still have the margin, you still have the unit economics on your side. Imagine what will happen when the cost per kilo will drop to $100 per kilo, when we have Starship flying regularly, right? Or at some point something similar, right? That will open much more new business models, right? So we'll have more startups coming up. So basically, I think kind of and if you look at the recent McKinsey, I think OBCG report, you need to find the right link for that. The IRR for deep tech VC is almost double to traditional VC. And that's exactly, I think Pablo mentioned that a lot of investors used to, okay, yes, we have software products which bring us money back like in 2, 3, 5 years, right? And then when you come to the deep tech, it only takes to build the product 2 to 3, 5 years, right? And then you can start building products in software, you can start selling tomorrow, right? Because you just put it in the app store and start getting customers. If you want to build and sell nuclear reactor, you can't just sell it tomorrow. You have to wait until you have a prototype and start getting the contracts. So the sales cycles are longer. The capital is very efficient, or it's very intensive. But in the same time, it's we have much higher moat. So with all the vibe coding, with all what's happening in AI, products like websites and app store applications, they don't have moat. A DeepSeek or like Lovable or Manos can build a product in 1 hour, and then the distribution is only kind of what makes a difference. As of today, DeepSeek cannot build a rocket or a reactor, right? So that's why this asset class becoming more and more interesting for investors as well. Plus the government leverage, plus the competition. So remember, nothing good happened after the Cold War, right? During the Cold War, we got Gagarin, we got moon landing, right? And then when the peace era, we had ISS, which is now 26 years old, super expensive and, almost impossible to book. But now we are de facto in a new competition. It's another new Cold War between US and China. And that's why we expect to see a lot of innovation. So maybe geopolitical situation is not that great, but it's good for us as investors because we're taking advantage of the speed of innovation, of the drive, of the additional government grants, additional government support, which these companies have. And that's amazing for us. So I know it's probably the end of my talk, but the summary is here. Deep tech VC, it's not moonshots anymore. Don't think about space as you only need to invest in space. You have to invest in ecosystem, right? Think about other deep sectors as well, because we will need them on the Mars, right? And this is unique opportunity now to build it. And I truly believe that we are not going to see another Google. We are not going to see another Amazon. We are going to see another NVIDIA. We are going to see another SpaceX. Ask yourself, think about next 1,000 unicorns, where they would come from. I truly believe 90% of them will be deep tech. And probably half of them would be space tech, and half of them may be energy, right? So this is the way how our generation is going to make money. We're not going to make money on banking anymore. That's was 1990s, right? So our generation is here to build and find the next NVIDIA, next SpaceX. So that's inspirational, I think, hopefully for some of you. Feel free to connect me on LinkedIn if you want to talk more about specific deals and investments. But thank you so much, Moondao, for having me, and I'm glad to be part of this event today.